Hello Leap users! Today we're going to learn how to make an email form. The email form module is possibly one of the coolest but most complicated modules in Leap because it requires quite a bit of setup to have it ready to go. So let's go through this together. First step would be to add the module to the page. Head to the top of the admin side of the page you want to add it to and click Add New Module. Then, step 1 is your drop-down list of modules you have available on your website. Your list may look slightly different from this list, but all the core modules should be there. Select Email Form and then click Add New Module. First thing you may notice when you add your email form module is there's a setup alert. You need to set up this email form correctly. Please click Advanced and make sure you set up the email form correctly, aka notification email address required and email subject line is required. So let's do that first. Click Advanced and scroll down to the two fields that are in red. In order for the email form to function, you'll first need an email notification address, aka someone who will receive the information out of this form. Next, you'll need a subject line. So when Test at TreeFrog receives every single entry from this form, what will the subject come into their email and say? The rest of the fields are not required at this stage, but some may be handy to fill out. Those being your thank you options. Once somebody submits the form, how do you want the user to proceed? Do you want the form to still stick around with a thank you message, or just have a thank you message itself? Then you can write in a nice little thank you message. Alternatively, which is also preferred, is that you redirect the user to a different page on the site. This can be done at a later stage though, but let's add one in right now. On top of that, you can also put in a submit button text. So instead of the user clicking a submit button, you can have them say enter. Something known in Leap is that if you just want a thank you message here, but you don't want to redirect them to a different page, if you leave this field blank, your submit button won't change. So make sure you at least have a space in this field to fill that void. Additional options can be if you want to CC someone on the email, say Sean, or BCC someone on the email as well. Additionally, you can add an email message footnote, so a note to whoever receives this email. So whoever receives this knows where to put the information. On top of that, you can include the date when it's being sent, of who submitted it on what date, and include a link to the data, which we'll get to under the Manage Data section. Below that, there's the auto reply section. This is a newer section of the email form we've added in that anyone who sends in and submits an email can automatically get a reply saying thanks or check out our offer, and you can fill in those details as well. Make sure you turn it on if you plan on using it. Below that are just some look and feel options if you ever feel the need to use them. You can change your description fonts, your answer fonts, and you can use the submitted email as the reply to, which we'll get to once we get to the fields below. The last option on here is very handy. If your email form is being spammed, aka you have multiple entries per day that are not really useful to you, TreeFrog can add in what's called a reCAPTCHA key. This will force the user to enter a series of numbers and letters in order to prove that they are not a robot. This is not turned on by default, as we find it's a barrier to entry to users. So, if you do find your email form being spam, please contact TreeFrog and we can input a reCAPTCHA key for you. Last piece is click Change the Features to make all of those active, and we now have an active email form. Let's leap out and take a look. By default, Leap adds in 3 fields: first name, last name, and email address. If you leave these 3 fields intact, the autoresponder will work perfectly, meaning your auto reply here will go dear first name, last name, and go directly to that person. If you change those fields, the auto reply could not function properly. You do not need to use the auto reply, but if you do, you need these 3 fields in this order. On top of this, you can add questions to your email form. Let's try that. Let's add in a question of which province they live in. Below, you put in the question description, then you can choose your question answer type. You have a multitude of options that you can choose. For this one, let's choose option selection. In the answer type field, we chose option selection. Now we have to put in our values. Values meaning what the user is entering. And so on. When you enter any question, you have the choice of whether to make the field required or not required. You also have the option to display the answer below the question. This is handy for fields that are long or won't fit on the same line. Other options for the option selections is you can put in an other prompt or a French version as well. Click Approve to add in your option selection. Let's leap out and take a look now. Now we have first name, last name, email address, and province that they can select. As well, we have an other field which will prompt the user with a different option. Let's check out some more of the fields. If we click Add Question, we can add in a whole bunch of other questions. We have options for long text, which someone could write out qualifications for. You can choose how long the rows would be and how many columns they can have. Then we have options for radio buttons and checkboxes. The difference being radio buttons, there's one answer. Checkboxes, there can be multiple answers. Then we have date selection fields. If you're asking for resumes and work experience, you can ask for start dates and end dates. We also have a file upload field where they can upload their resume or file and send it off to you. Let's take a look. So now we can see that we've started to build a pretty nifty form, but it's taken a little bit of configuration to get there. Once your form is up and running, Leap has the added benefit that every single entry entered into the form gets stored in our databases. That being said, we ask you do not put in or ask anyone for any sensitive information, being SIN numbers, health cards, credit cards. TreeFrog cannot keep that information on file in our databases. If you wish to contain and gather that information, there are other solutions TreeFrog can help you with. Because every entry gets kept in the forms and you can download it at any time by clicking Manage Data. Once you click Manage Data, you can download every entry in the form as an Excel file, a tab delineated, or a comma delineated to keep on file or for your desktop. Thanks for watching.